Good evening. We're still no closer to knowing who will govern the country. But even before counting is finished, the fallout from the tight election is ramping up. Bill Shorten today called on Malcolm Turnbull to quit as the Prime Minister's own MPs began the finger-pointing over what went wrong for the coalition.
Good morning. Good to see you.
There's never been a more worrying time to be Malcolm Turnbull.
The counting continues, as you know.
Do you remain confident in your leadership?
Thank you very much indeed.
Do you remain confident in your leadership?
In limbo, his future in question.
How are you feeling?
Excellent.
The race is over, but Bill Shorten's still running. Not yet a winner or loser, but doing a sort of victory lap of the map. Heading to Sydney's west to meet two new MPs.
Well done, us.
Sending a message that Labor's united and ready to govern. Unlike, he says, Malcolm Turnbull and a Liberal Party at war with itself.
Quite frankly, I think he should quit. He's taken this nation to an election on the basis of stability. He's delivered instability. The bloke is not up to the job.
Malcolm Turnbull spent the day in the Sydney offices, joined by Minister Josh Frydenberg and Strategist and Cabinet Secretary Arthur Sinodinos.
Do you feel like Mr Turnbull has dropped the ball at all? Or?
Look, I've got nothing to say, thanks.
As the Liberal right began the blame game.
In the end, the Liberal Party's messaging didn't talk to the people that mattered, and that is our base, and they deserted us in droves. We have now paid a very heavy price.
Cory Bernardi calls it a disaster, saying the campaign message was wrong and the rot set in when Tony Abbott was dumped.
The decision to change our political agenda to waffle, to fluff around, and it was driven by ego, by hubris, and by this self-absorption for the Canberra Games. All of those people need to be held to account.
Whatever criticisms there may be of the campaign, they don't lie at the Prime Minister's door.
If Malcolm Turnbull does make it across the line, critics say there'll have to be a change in style and substance, a return to basic Liberal values and a clearer cut-through message. With counting to resume tomorrow and change still possible, the Electoral Commission has a coalition on 67 seats, Labor 71, and in a hung parliament, 6 potential kingmakers. Bob Katter, Adam Bandt, Cathy McGowan, Andrew Wilkie, and 2 from Nick Xenophon's team. 6 seats are still not decided.
The government is quietly confident that the government will be returned with a working majority.
For the First Lady, just another day at the office.
I've just got a day at work.
For her husband, anything but business as usual.
How are your meetings?
All very productive.
Politically in danger, but his mind is giving him at least some level of security.
Thanks for your interest, and I'm just going off now, walking off to an appointment in the city, so thank you very much.
Lane Kelcott, 9 News.
And the Nine Network's political editor, Laurie Oakes, is live for us in Canberra tonight. Laurie, there really aren't any positives for the Prime Minister to take out of this.
No, there aren't, Pete. The recriminations inside the coalition are fierce, and Malcolm Turnbull's lack of authority in the wake of the election mess is becoming increasingly obvious. Today, he at least phoned Liberal MPs who lost their seats in the election, the people he didn't even think to mention in his speech on the night. Some of his Liberal colleagues think he's toast, but there's no serious talk anywhere yet of bringing back Tony Abbott. So can Mr Turnbull pick himself up? Well, after the Gillard-Rudd experience, there's nothing but pessimism about the likelihood of a hung parliament and another minority government. And even if the best possible scenario pans out for the coalition and it ends up with 76 seats, a majority of 1, that's still widely seen as a recipe for instability. There's even speculation about another election possibly within a year. But it doesn't have to be like what we saw between 2010 and 2013. It is possible for a government to survive a hung parliament and have a clear win in the following election. Steve Bracks did it in Victoria, so did Peter Beattie in Queensland. Sir Robert Menzies clung on by 1 seat in 1961 and had a big win in 1963. The question is, does Malcolm Turnbull have the political skills required? And that could be the problem. He lost the Republic referendum, he blew his first period as Liberal leader and was tossed out, and he produced Saturday's debacle. So there are not many signs of political brilliance in that record so far, Pete.
All right, Laurie, thank you. Meantime,